Howdy, folks. I'm Ladi from Like-Minded Lunatics, and this is Ladi's Rockucation. This is where I learn about music that I have never heard and most likely never would listen to. But I'm here with Professor Mark, and he's going to teach me some things about the world, I guess. Mark, what are we listening to?
So, folks, hopefully you have checked out some of our other Ladi Rockucation. We did Hailstorm right here. We did Metallica. And I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I feel like hopefully you had a greater appreciation.
Oh, I do. I do.
For bands you wouldn't have listened to before.
What's interesting is that some of the music, it's the nature of the music. It's loud, it's raucous, it's rowdy. But you listen, you read the lyrics, and you actually hear what they're saying. Some of these are really painful songs.
Some of them are. And I think today, so folks have already seen the title. They know we're going to look at Van Halen.
Oh, okay.
And I know that for a lot of folks, they're like, how does Ladi not know about Van Halen? But you don't, right? You don't.
About Van Halen.
So, folks, I have pitched several bands, and when I've pitched them, in my head, I think, without knowing about Eddie Van Halen, I don't know how to describe this to Ladi. So we're providing foundational, instructional material here.
But I have to say one thing. I do know that he married Valerie Bertinelli.
He did.
That much I know.
Okay.
I know that about Van Halen.
And is that all you know?
I've heard Panama because you did a video.
I did a video on it.
And I've heard that song.
Okay.
And that is everything I know. And they got divorced.
They did get divorced.
Okay, there you go. That's my extent of Van Halen.
That's it. So, folks, those of you out there like, there's no way he doesn't know Van Halen. He doesn't know Van Halen. So, we have to start in the 70s. Actually, we got to go back
to the 70s?
We got to go back to the 60s. So, there was a guy named Jan Van Halen. He was a Dutch, classically trained pianist, clarinetist. He married a woman from Indonesia, and they had 2 children, Eddie Van Halen and Alex Van Halen. And when the kids were, I think, 6 to 7, they moved from the Netherlands to Pasadena, California.
Oh, my God.
And Jan wanted his young boys to be classically trained pianists, like his heroes, Beethoven, Bach, Mozart. And so he immediately enrolled them in classical music classes, driving 2 hours one way to go to San Pedro from Pasadena. During this time, Edward Van Halen started winning recital awards. He was an absolute prodigy.
As a classical pianist.
Classical pianist. From about the age of 6 to 10. I know Van Halen biographers will probably correct me in the comments, but around that time, winning recitals and all types of stuff. What he didn't share with anyone is that when he was going to these lessons, he wasn't actually learning to read music. He would memorize what the sounds were like, and he could recreate Bach, Beethoven, and Mozart from memory. Not a lie. He didn't know how to read music.
Really?
Really. And his brother Alex decided he was going to be a guitar player, a rock and roll guitar player. So Alex bought a guitar, and Eddie thought, I'll buy some drums and I'll be the drummer for my brother. So he bought a set of drums. Alex was more interested in going out, getting drunk, and getting laid. Eddie was an introvert, stayed at home, and played Alex's guitar. And Edward Van Halen is perhaps the most important guitar player in the 20th century. We've got Robert Johnson,
wow,
Jimi Hendrix, and then EVH. Now, those of you out there know why. Because not only was Edward Van Halen a musical genius, he was also an engineering genius. So he built his own guitars.
He built his own guitars?
Because he couldn't figure out how to make the tones he heard on the records. He didn't have enough money to buy pedals, so he would build his own guitars. So his guitar, it's known as the Frankenstrat, and I'll show you pictures of it in a minute.
Okay.
It's in the Metropolitan Museum. And again, Van Halen people will correct me. I think the neck cost him $80, and the body cost like $50. And Eddie dipped the bridge in paraffin so it wouldn't get any feedback. And it's probably the most important piece of musical equipment that we have from that time period. Now, here's the stunning part. They toured or they gigged their asses off in California. Couldn't get signed anywhere. This is in the 70s. Everybody either wanted disco or they wanted punk.
Yes, yes.
They were neither. They were a fun party band. Gene Simmons from Kiss decided, I got to back these guys. They're going to make it big. He financed a demo tape, couldn't get it sold. The next year, Warner Ted Templeton, I think from Warner Music, happened to be in a club, heard them, and was like, sign them now. So what we're going to watch first is Runnin' With The Devil, the first track off of their first album. Okay?
Okay.
All right, folks, here we go. That was a long setup, but I felt like we had to.
Yes.
Runnin' With The Devil, 1978, Van Halen. All right. What are you thinking so far?
Well, this is nice. I've never heard this, and I'm going to say one of the things I was thinking is when I saw Sarah, all I could think about was Farrah Fawcett.
So I was going to say this to you. David Lee Roth is their lead singer. He is a pretty man. At this time period, and we'll watch another video in a minute, Dave is often prettier than the girls in the video. And very often, you're not sure exactly who he's hitting on. Is it the guys? Is it the girls? I don't know, but Dave is definitely putting something down. So David Lee Roth actually went to high school with Eddie and Alex.
So that's how he knew them and got in the band.
Yep.
So while they were building their guitars and doing everything, they were hanging out with David Lee Roth anyway.
Yep, and they all hated each other. Yep, they didn't care for Dave. Dave didn't care for them. But Dave is a fantastic musician, as you can see, showman, and they knew they had something special. And they fought behind the scenes. So I've got some quotes from Dave. I thought you might be funny about it. He said, where is it at? Let's see. He said of the band, "We all knew we were pirates. Of course they were going to betray me."
Oh my God.
So,
how can you play it seems like that would be hard.
They kept it together for several albums. But David Lee Roth, he is from Jewish immigrants. And this was what he said about performing. So he says he was compared a lot to like Freddie Mercury and people like that. So no. In my head, I'm some of the song and dance men I saw in the Catskills. I'm some of the song and dance scatting guys I would see playing in Jewish clubs and stuff like that. His first teacher was a Jewish man, and this is what Dave said. He says, "I have a mark on my head from my parents going, if you fuck this up, you will destroy me, destroy this family, and you'll embarrass us all. My first singing teacher had 2 numbers on his forearm. One was his camp number, and the other was the orchestra number. As a punk kid, I once asked him in front of the class, what happens if you don't sing good? He was very explicit. He said, if you don't sing good, you go up the chimney. I think of that every single time I sing. Every time I get ready to sing, every time my inner child goes, fuck it, you don't need this, you'll be fine. I remember what he said."
Oh my God.
So that's David Lee Roth. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is the first time we see Ed. And again,
but it's his band.
His band named after him and his brother. When it started, the record folks just focused on David Lee Roth. Didn't pay any mind to Ed. And I'll show you in a minute when they started paying attention to him. All right, so Dave's lyrical habits range from showman to Tarzan. Listen to that yell. It's great, isn't it? It's impossible to be unhappy listening to a Van Halen song.
This is, yes, I can see that. It's very interesting to me to look at these people, see how well they play together, know that they don't even really like each other that much.
No.
So who did all the writing?
So that's the interesting part. So Dave would write all the lyrics. Eddie would compose all the songs.
Did they do it together?
Most oftentimes not. I don't. The impression I got was no.
So did one
was,
write the music first and then the lyrics came, or did he have lyrics and he gave them to Eddie and Eddie wrote a song around that?
Unclear, but there were a lot of songs that Eddie had with the composition of the song and the music, and Dave would later come along and put words to.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I don't want to skip ahead, but yeah, so the ethos of the band at this point is partying, girls, and that's about it. Because that's what Dave was interested in.
Yeah.
Party, girls, and that's it.
I'm going to say something.
Yeah, go ahead.
It's partying, girls, and being the center of attention.
100.
Okay.
100. And if Van Halen fans are out there going, yeah, you're absolutely right.
Okay.
Dave's biggest fan, Dave.
Oh, yeah.
Dave.
You can kind of see that just here.
I mean, look at him. He is... And I'm going to go ahead and be honest with you. If I had my druthers and I could choose to be any frontman of any band in history, Dave.
Really?
Look how hot he is. And he can just get up there and he's a showman and everybody knows it's his show. Oh, I love him so much. Even though his voice at times sounds like Tarzan, love it. Look at those fucking hips. He has extra joints. I'm convinced of it. Because a normal human being should not move like that. I have seen female strippers that are not able to do this. And Dave is a phenom on stage.
He is very much a showman.
And it gets better. I mean, I can tell you, this video, he's slightly subdued here. This is like Dave at his most lethargic, I feel like.
Oh, no!
Yeah.
You gotta be kidding!
No.
Okay.
All right, so that was the first hit off
Okay.
of their first video.
Eddie Van Halen has better hair than David. I wonder if they ever fought about that.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, God, I don't think so. I love it.
Really?
I love a Dave hair. I mean, look at this. It's modeled after
No. Oh, I never thought of it.
100. If I could be anyone, it would be David Lee Roth from 1979. Oh, I would be so happy. Okay, so I mentioned a moment ago that, let me make sure I got it right here. Let's see.
What are we looking for? What are we looking for?
I'm trying to make sure I get the right thing pulled up. There we go. Okay. Now, I mentioned a moment ago that people didn't really pay a lot of attention to Eddie until a little bit later, right? And by later, I meant track 2 on this first album. So this Eddie said it was a mistake. Eddie said that what I'm about to play you was something that he did to rehearse, and he didn't know that they were kind of recording this. This is called Eruption, and it is probably one of the most important solos of all time. So this is from a music critic. I want to read this to you just so you get an impression of this. This is from a music critic.
So this is something that he was playing while he did not know they were recording.
He knew he was plugged in, but he didn't think it was going to be on the album.
Gotcha.
He was just messing around while they were in the studio. So this is what this critic said, Chuck Klosterman from Vulture.com and The New Yorker. Oh. There are those of us who don't even consider this a song. It wasn't intended for the album. Eddie still insists that it was a mistake, and there are now 8th graders on YouTube who can replicate every note. But Eruption is the distilled essence of Van Halen, the vortex of their ethos, and the sonic justification for jettisoning every lead singer who started to halfway annoy them. The first 45 seconds are impressive, but not transcendent. The music fades out, and any cogent first-time listener would find themselves thinking, well, I guess that was it. That was okay. But suddenly Ed's back. And now he's attacking the instrument the way piranhas skeletonize a water buffalo. And he does that thing he always does in your living room speakers transmorgify into the P-Funk mothership and ascend through the roof and into the troposphere. It ends with a Doppler effect, except you haven't moved and neither has Ed. This is, by the widest possible margin, the most important freestanding guitar solo of all time. And I realize if you hate Van Halen, this is what you hate. You hate the sensation of having your brain trapped in a beehive. You hate the distance between the proficiency of the artist and the potentiality of his audience. And you hate that this guy just invented the 1980s. But if you love Van Halen, this is what you love. And you can listen to it 1,000 times without diminishing returns. The experience does not evolve. You will always be inside Edward's guitar.
I want to tell you that not having heard this, that review gave me goosebumps, because that review, that is someone who is so in love with whatever they created that it just fills you with, I mean, I'm already excited to listen to it.
So I can tell you this. This is one of my favorite bands, and everyone out there who's a Van Halen fan will probably tell you the same thing. And there's a sound, it's a harmonic that Eddie does. And when he does it, it brings tears to my eyes. Because the knowledge that we've lost that musician, aww, and he is no longer in this world, pains me so much. Aww. Here we go. Eruption from 1978, Eddie Van Halen. That was one man, one guitar, very little effects.
Oh my God.
Now, a lot of folks might think, oh, you can do that in the studio. What does it sound like live? So we saw them live. And usually a guitar solo is one of those things where it's like, the band's going to get a drink and let him do his thing. The entire show felt like it was building up to Ed's solo. It was around 35 minutes. And there was one man on stage, and it sounded like a goddamn symphony. It was one of the most transcendent things I think I've ever heard. And this is a little bit of him doing a solo, and he's working in Beethoven in the middle of it. So a lot of where that sound came from is classical music.
It's his training as a classical pianist? What did I say? Pianist, okay.
So Ed's playing piano on the guitar. Listen to him.
So, when something like this happened, did this offend David Lee Roth? Because he was not the focus at this point?
Internally, yes. Apparently there was a lot of bad feelings. In fact, Eddie gave several interviews where he said that after he started becoming the focus of a lot of press releases, that Dave was very unhappy. And Eddie's response was, I wish they would just fucking leave me alone. All I want to do is play. And it seemed like, it was kind of creating bad blood within the group. One of the things that Ed has always said is that, this is a quote that I have from him, is that music is for the people. The word pop simply stands for popular. It means that people like it. I'm just a normal jerk who happens to make music. As long as my brain and fingers work, I'm cool. Now, I'm going to play you the last video that they did with David Lee Roth. Hot for Teacher. Are you familiar with this one? No? Okay, great. Everybody out there knows what's about to happen. So their first album was Van Halen.
Okay, so when did this come out?
That's what I was about to tell you. First album was 1978. This one was 1984. This is the last album they did with David Lee Roth. And at this point, there was a push and pull between Eddie and Dave about what type of band they were becoming. Dave directed this video. And Eddie said that he felt like at this point they were turning into a Las Vegas act and not the music band that he wanted.
Because he was a musician foremost. See, in the 80s, it was punk and new wave, and that's what I heard. Yes. I don't remember
any of this. So, here we go. This is, hang on, let me back it up. So this is Hot for Teacher.
And this is all David Lee Roth's idea. Okay.
He directed this video. It's his video. So the first album was Van Halen. It went diamond level, which means it sold 100 million copies according to RIA.
Oh my God.
This album is 1984. That's this album right here, folks. Sorry, the wrong way. That's this one. It also went diamond, sold over 100 million copies. It's set at number 2 on the Billboard charts for months. What was above it? Michael Jackson's Thriller, and Eddie wrote the solo and beat it on that one. So Eddie...
Did he really?
Yep, all him. And he also rearranged the song for Michael. So not only did Eddie have his own record chart, his other record that he didn't even charge Michael Jackson for is also set on the chart.
Michael wouldn't have paid him.
Well, here we go. 1984, Hot for Teacher.
Sweet, sweet Waldo. Now, Waldo, I hope you find some friends this year.
Oh, Mom, you know I'm not like other guys. I'm nervous and my socks are too loose.
Sit down, Waldo.
Oh my God.
a second, man. What do you think the teacher's gonna look like this year? Teacher, stop that screaming. Teacher, don't you see? Don't wanna be no uptown fool.
Now, the thing that I've always thought is hysterical in this is that Dave, if you watch the video, Dave gets more close-ups and in focus than the girls do. And I've never understood that. Like, obviously they have paid for it. And one of these girls has been in Rod Stewart's videos and stuff like that. Like, she was a video vamp, so a girl who would do videos. Dave is in focus better than the girls are.
Well, he directed it, right?
He directed it.
Okay.
And the voice at the first, who's Waldo, Phil Hartman.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you this.
Mom.
If he wrote the lyrics to a song, did Eddie ever say anything about his lyrics? Like, I don't like this. We changed these. Nothing.
I don't know. Somebody else out there might know. I don't know that.
Okay, I was just curious how he felt about him. Okay.
I don't know. I don't know if that was ever expressed. A lot of accounts seem to be like Eddie would do this over here. Like that first album was recorded live with them all in one room. So it was like a band just being recorded. But subsequent ones, unclear. Because after, was it Folks Diver Down? In any case, after like the album before this one, Eddie was so unhappy with the engineering, he created his own studio so he could do the engineering. So all of this is Ed's.
So he knew the sound he wanted.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Vegas act. Yeah.
Well, he must have hated this.
So infamously, both Eddie and Alex hated it. So Eddie's here, right here, and Alex is right there in the middle. Alex is their percussionist. He's their drummer. And he could not keep time during these dancing parts. So when you're watching these dancing parts, watch Alex, and he is constantly off beat, and he's the fucking drummer. So she was in a bunch of Rod Stewart videos. She was famous for doing these types of videos.
Okay, this was in the 1980s. MTV was a thing.
Yes.
So was this on MTV?
Yes. Yeah. So in Friday Night Videos, which was a CBS production, which is what I based this whole thing off of, Friday Night Videos there's a part in a minute where there's a crotch grab. They would put a box over Dave's midsection, and it aired like that until apparently another executive was like, well, that's way dirtier. Take the box off of him. Because he puts his hands down and then he does that hip thing that he does, and they're like, "What the hell would you put a box there for?" So yeah.
So when did they play this kind of music on MTV? Because I don't remember this. I remember a whole bunch of weird Eurythmics, Devo, all that other kind of stuff. I don't remember this.
See, that's where I'm not going to be able to help you because we live so far out in the country we didn't have cable. So I watched Friday Night Videos. It came on every Friday night, and I would tape them. So I had this on a VHS tape, and I missed the first, 15 seconds because you got to run to the thing to hit the record. You're like, oh, no, I missed it.
I do remember that.
Missed it. God damn it. I mean, look at him. He is...
It's his show.
Seducing you from the camera, just staring right at you. Right there. Right there. They put a bar over it, and apparently
He wasn't doing anything.
They didn't care for that. They didn't care for that right there. And so they were like, oh, we got to cover that up. And then they put a black bar. Well, that's way dirtier.
Yeah, that was worse. That would have been worse.
Take the bar away.
I've got it bad, so bad. I'm like the teacher. Oh man, I think the clock is slow. I don't feel dirty.
I was wondering when you would notice. I was like,
I don't feel dirty. Class dismissed. Ooh, yeah.
That's Grease.
yep, same high school.
Same high
Howard,
school.
Howard High School, I think, in LA. Yep.
Okay.
I'm like the teacher. Oh, I got it bad, got it bad, got it bad. I'm like the teacher.
They're going with the Animal House ending.
Oh my God.
Now, I know you.
That's exactly what he is. He's a game show host through the whole thing.
And I know you missed it because you're paying attention to the actual narrative. He has apparently pissed his pants. Dave thought that was hysterical. On his right leg.
Yeah?
Look down his right leg. He made it look like that the game show host had peed his pants. I have no idea why. David Lee Roth, that's why. I don't know. Last video and album with David Lee Roth. Out of the band.
I could if they're all about the music, I could see why this video did not sit well for the. It's a fun video.
Oh, a blast.
It's a fun video, but you know, David Lee Roth grates on my nerves. I just don't like him. I'm sorry. I wish I did, because he seems like he wants to be liked really bad.
He is a carnival barker.
Okay. He those people that you want that when you're in New Orleans, or any of those people that are saying, "Hey, we've got empty tables, margaritas, $5." That's him.
His uncle owned one of the most popular clubs in New York, and that's exactly right. Dave worked there. Yep, exactly it. So immediately after this, fired. We're done with David Lee Roth. And this is the time period when Eddie tried to convince Patti Smythe to join the band. He wanted...
Really?
Yep, he was adamant that he wanted her to be the lead singer
She would have been amazing.
of Van Halen, and she didn't want to leave the East Coast. Eddie's studio was in LA, 5150 Studios, and she did not want to leave. And so there's actually, and I tried to pull it up, but the audio is terrible. There's actually a recording of her playing with them from the Hollywood Bowl from around this time, when Eddie's getting her to sit in with the band and please join, and she didn't have any interest in doing it. Because she knew this was one of the biggest bands at the time, and she didn't want to give up her home on the East Coast, all that stuff.
Yeah, I get that.
So in part 2, we're going to skip ahead to the next lead singer of Van Halen. And we'll see what you think of that.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah, that's. Is it David Lee Roth Part 2? Or is he?
Nope.
Okay.
Exact opposite of Dave, as a matter of fact. Yep, exact opposite of Dave. In fact, fans are split over who they like. They call this one Van Halen and the other split another name. I'll tell you that in a second.
Okay.
All right, folks, leave us a comment. We're going to continue Ladi's Rockucation with part 2
The things I'm learning.
of Van Halen.
Adios.